November 16th, 2022. Guys, if you've been around the channel for maybe 7 or 8 years, you remember the videos on the North American Craton, and you're looking at a map of that tonight at 6:19 p.m. Central. And what this is, you've got the brown areas, the pink and the green areas, the blue areas that extend into the ocean. And the North American Craton is the continental crust. It's an area with a continental crust that has remained relatively stable for the past 600 million years. That's in the brown areas. In the pink areas, if you look over around Utah and in Idaho, down into Arizona, New Mexico, parts of California and Nevada, you're seeing deformed Craton. It's not as stable, and that outside pressure has worn on this. Then you look out into the green areas, and this is what they call the North American continental margin. And all of this area in the pink and the blue and the green were at one time seas. And the way they know that, in the caves and the deserts and all, they find seashells. And then they look in the side of the cliffs and they find salt layers and sediment layers that are only occur on the bottoms of the ocean. But the North American Craton is a different ballgame altogether. And a couple weeks ago we saw a quake in Louisiana. Now tonight, right here, you see this section of Texas? Let me stop this a moment. Right in this area. They've had a record-breaking for that area, 5.2, I think, earthquake. And that is on the very edge of where and we'll look at the earthquake activity map of this Craton. And they're saying it is one of the record quakes. And so all the alarms start going off that we're starting to see a shift in this Craton. Christ told us that would be one of the signs, would be the earthquakes in many places, and that the greatest earthquake we would ever see would be when he steps that foot down on the Mount of Olives. But this earthquakes, it says divers, but that means many places. I think he's talking about the important ones. And we all know about the San Andreas over along this North American continental margin in the green. We know about that. And everyone's heard of the New Madrid fault, the largest quake on record to hit the U.S. If you haven't looked at the images of the uplift of the New Madrid fault, they've got black and white, or the New Madrid fault, they've got black and white images on the internet. You can see where it looks like the ground has just exploded for hundreds of miles. Houses are tilted 45 degrees. What's left, rivers flowed backwards. The Mississippi River flowed backwards, things like that. But we're starting to see this started to shift. And so, again, I don't want to make this a long, drawn-out thing, but, again, the continental crust has remained stable for the past 600 million years. And if you Google the quake that shook the Washington Monument back a few years ago, I think that was one of the last times that we saw a major shift. And if you Google it, you'll see pictures again of folks running down the stairs with the camera shaking and the ceiling collapsing. Like I said, I've been there twice, and that's why I will not go into that place. But anyway, we're starting to see a shift. And a few weeks ago, we saw in this pink area a shift in Louisiana. And if you look at the size of the Craton again on that map, you would think the center would, if I had to guess, would be along the Canadian-North American border, or the U.S. border with Canada. They're saying if you envision a lazy Susan turntable, and this is coming from geology, on top of the primary tectonic plate, when forces are applied to the plate, the responding tremors cause shifting of the entire, let me back that up, entire Craton, which swivels on its axis. The earthquakes and other seismic results are more extreme when the Craton presses against the areas that it is pushing. And that was in the pink areas of the map that was showing the deformed Craton as it pushes outward. But again, look at this, the North American Craton's axis point, and they're showing this as an example. is New Madrid, Missouri. And I don't do a lot of earthquake videos like I used to, guys, because a lot of the stronger ones are offshore now. But when you see a rock or section of a continent that's been stable that long, when it does move, then it's like the buildup they say on the San Andreas Fault or on the Cascadia Fault Zone that builds up pressure over time, then it releases. That's why the New Madrid Fault. Look it up, guys. The images are amazing. That's why it was so devastating. Let's take a quick look at the USGS. Now, this is the earthquake map. It's got the U.S. hazard map built in, the faults, the plate boundaries, population density, etc. But your hazard map, you can see in the red areas along California rising up into the Cascadia area, the red area. That's the most dangerous. And then here in the New Madrid, Missouri area, and then here off the Carolina coast. Now here is the quake. Let me see if I can click on that one. Exactly 5.4, 93 kilometers west-southwest of Mentone, Texas, 8.3 kilometers deep. The reason I don't think it has to do with fracking is because it's on the Craton border, and most fracking automatically comes in at about 5 miles. If you've watched that over the years, they don't like you talking about that, and I'm not talking about that because the current administration has shut down everything that will cause you to freeze to death, starve to death, etc. But again, here we are. Let me pull this map up. Here's Pecos. Guadalupe Peak is here. Now, guys, we're looking at just north of the interstate. I've been through there so many times going to see our kids and grandkids in Phoenix. But a lot of times we will come through Abilene, coming down to Sweetwater, cut up through Snyder, guys. And if you ever go from the southeast to Arizona, New Mexico, and you want to get off the interstate and see the best routes, this is it. Sweetwater, Snyder, come up to Post, turn left, go through Tahoka, Brownfield. This is going to take you through Plains, also Roswell, New Mexico. And guys, that's the best route if you're going from the southeast to the west, because you get to see Roswell, New Mexico. You get to see the mountains of New Mexico, the wooded, high-altitude mountains in New Mexico and Arizona. The interstate just does not compare. But guys, I think that's what we're looking at right now is tectonic plate shifting with this North American Craton, which extends very far up into Canada. But I think this shifted before, and we had the New Madrid quake. We're watching it. You watch it. Pay very close attention because we're getting into those times, guys. It's a heads up. Be safe.